Life is designed to be a winding road, one that introduces you to all kinds of exits and detours.
How would you ever know if people think you're somebody?
A place where you wear many hats, where you discover many things.
I want to know the answers to everything.
And along the way, you find yourself and ways to serve.
We're not going to get anywhere in life until I becomes we.
Each of our lives is a story.
It delights me to hear someone telling their story, and I can get lost in that.
We are the writers, actors, directors, and witnesses of this play.
Who are you? And what is it you really want in life?
Welcome. You have entered the realm of 1111 Talk Radio. Your host is Simran. It's time to discover your own language with the universe. Empower yourself, broaden your mind, open your heart, and discover who you are. Now, here's your host, Simran.
We all need those individuals that we have trust in. What they say and how they walk their lives is always aligned. Particularly in today's times, in the spiritual industry and the personal growth industry, it is necessary to find those voices that you can trust. Sandie Sedgbeer is a trusted authority when it comes to conversations around spirituality, personal growth, and storytelling. Behind everything she creates is connection, integrity, and commitment to serving, empowering, and illuminating the world with freshness. I would call Sandie a wise woman, a sage, and a master guide. But most importantly, she serves as an example, walking her talk and continually aligning to her highest self, while fully engaging in all of the very human experiences that life brings. This woman never shies away from a big project, especially when it can serve our world. Welcome, Sandie. It is an honor and a delight to have you on 1111.
Oh, Simran, thank you so much. And who is that person you're talking about?
To share your bio is such an amazing experience. To witness all that you have done and created as a journalist and an author and radio show host, a magazine publisher, a broadcaster, someone that guides people in their own books and ghostwriter, so many different faces and expressions that you have had over the years. I think that the one line that has woven through all of those things is this deep integrity and commitment that not only comes through your voice, but through the expression of every conversation or every iteration of yourself. And I know that you began in the ultra-competitive world of British newspapers and magazines, but when you started, did you ever think that your life would encompass so much and meeting so many while also impacting, I'm sure, countless individuals that you have no idea that you have impacted?
No, I didn't. When I started out in journalism, it was all about me, 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 me. And I'm going to be famous. I'm going to write books and people are going to look at me and go, wow, she's somebody. And it took, I don't know, a number of years, maybe 20, before I realized that that desire to be somebody had been driving me to do things that really weren't fully connected with my soul. And it was a big wake-up call. It was all about me, 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 me. Why was it so important for me to feel like I was somebody? And I think that probably traces back to my childhood. I never, ever believed that I would be doing half the things that I've done since then.
You have always been about the cutting edge, and I have no doubt even your own personal growth has been ahead of its time. When I look at the world and social media and the young people of today, there is a lot of me, me, me. And yet we are to become this world that is more about the we.
Yes.
And so I'd love for you to share some wisdom around that transition realizing that it is the individualization of one's own soul and true self that has to be the me that merges with the we.
I was working in journalism. I was working on magazines. I was working on books. And I wrote a book called Sexual Power. What is it? Who's got it? And how to succeed in love and life. And it was a little bit like John Gray's Men are from Mars and Women are from Venus. And I was, talking to all kinds of people in England and, looking at things like that. Actually, it was a forerunner to the book that was very much like Men are from Mars, Women are from Venus. See, I forget my own history. There's so much packed in. I was on a book tour and I was in a studio in the north of England, and I came off air after promoting my book, and somebody said to me, "We've had a phone call from somebody who used to know you and they want to be put in touch with you." And they gave me this person's details. It was a guy that I used to know. And I had a very long drive back to London. On that drive, I was thinking about this person and thinking about, wow, you're sitting there in a studio and it's just you and, the presenter, but you have no idea who's watching, who's listening. And suddenly I had what I now call a download. It was an instant, absolutely instant realization of this amazing aha, where something completely shifted in me. It was almost as if I saw this whole scene in front of me, that would take ages to roll out in real time, but was complete in my mind within seconds. And I suddenly realized that this whole thing about chasing fame and me, and wanting to be recognized and have people say, "Oh, she's somebody," makes me laugh now. But I realized that there was this person watching me on this screen who knew me in a different life, if you like. He wanted to reconnect with me. And I suddenly saw that everything that I had done had been going towards that one thing about being recognized and being somebody. And the silly thing was, how would you ever know if people think you're somebody? Lots of people could be watching who may have known me, but they didn't know who I was now. I had a different surname. Stupidly, if they did know me and go, "Oh, there's that person. Oh, she's somebody now," how would I ever know? And the whole stupidity of what I'd been doing just really cracked something open inside me. And I thought, wow, you've really got a lot of work to do on yourself. And at that point, because I had written a book with sex in the title and I'd worked for a magazine that was associated with sex, I was being called a bit of a sex guru in the British tabloids. And I thought, no, you've really got to rewind here. You've got to go back to basics, go back to the beginning and start looking inside yourself. Who are you? And what is it you really want in life? What are you here for, etc.? And I kind of was on a bit of a spiritual path, but it was more of a selective, analytical spiritual path, choosing the pieces that kind of resonated with me and dismissing other things because I didn't want to confront them. But that was the beginning of something really big that happened to me. The follow-up book that I referred to, called Sex, Lies and Love, How to Understand the Opposite Sex, I had to do a lot of research with all kinds of people, all ages, men and women. And this thing about we became really front and center. And I realized, and I ended the book saying, we've had this thing going on between men and women from goodness knows the beginning of time, this battle of the sexes or whatever people called it. We were all trying to make everyone else be like us. Why can't that man be more like me? Why can't that woman give me what I want? And I realized that we're not going to get anywhere in life until I becomes we. That was a kind of second realization on top of the first one. It was only about a year or two afterwards. Those two things together completely changed everything about me, everything.
For many to completely change themselves, much less what you've done, you have the courage to constantly shift and change to many different faces and expressions. That can be scary to make those shifts and changes. to cling to what was, if that seemed like the trajectory that was going. What allowed you to fuel within yourself that drive to continue down the unknown path?
Well, it was a very traumatic period of my life. I mean, I broke up my relationship, the work I was doing. It was tough. And I remember several times, just saying to the universe, I need a break. I know that I've got to do this. I know I've got to get through it, but I need a little bit of a respite, please. And I think it's that something in me, it was a non-negotiable. I couldn't understand it. I couldn't put words to it, but I knew I had to do this. There was no other way forward in my life. So I think it was that knowing that just drove me all the way.
People are constantly seeking the answers, where there's actually more weight put in the answers and the opinions that are out there. And yet there's something very powerful about being the one that's asking the questions and allowing the question to be the most powerful piece. And you do that so beautifully, not only in endeavors creatively like your radio show Conversations at the Cutting Edge, even your flagship Om show, and now especially in your No B.S. Spiritual Book Club and the shows that you have through there. You have this ability, allowing that question to linger in a way where someone watching can really tap into that question within themselves. And it almost has equal to or more power than the answer that follows. How do you feel about the questions and coming up with them and engaging so that you're serving your purpose in the way that you most desire?
Sometimes I think it's not me coming up with those questions. As I'm reading somebody's book, and I do read every book, I feel it's an insult not to read my guests' material. Things just pop into my head. The way I interpret it is that I'm just like everybody else. I ask the questions that every person would want to know. And occasionally I might find a question popping into my head that I don't know where it came from. It's interesting, and so I'm going to ask it. Sometimes I think that perhaps I'm being a little naive in asking some of the questions, that they're a bit simple. It's a difficult one. I mean, you do this job yourself. How do you come up with them? I don't know. Half the time I don't know where they come from.
Well, I do certainly think that you have this intuitive quality that taps into that space. And I find it really beautiful that your early journey started off with this me, wanting to be somebody, and you so beautifully and graciously recognize people. You allow them to be seen and heard in a way that not simply they are somebody, but that they become a voice of everybody. And I think that's where the resonance and the unity starts to come in. Has your pathway through the different types of radio shows, the magazines that you've created, the authors that you've worked with, have they served your spiritual growth in equal capacity to how you've served those individuals?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think I am the luckiest person in the world that I get this constant input that helps me keep growing and growing and growing. I don't believe I will ever stop asking questions or wanting to find answers until the day I die. I mean, if I do stop before then, I think that's the day that I've given up. I'm a Gemini, and first word I ever said, like most Geminis, is why. I want to know. I want to know the answers to everything. When I'm interviewing someone, I'm lost in their world. I am lost in wanting to know about them. I think people are fascinating. I think it's amazing that there are how many billions of people in the world? Yeah, and we're all sparks of the divine, and we are all different. And we all take different paths, and our lives are like winding rivers, and synchronicities occur, and we don't always recognize them. And that I just find the most fascinating thing. Everybody has a story, and I want to know their stories. It delights me to hear someone telling their story, and I can get lost in that and imagine myself in their story and how I might have responded to the things that happened to them in their life. It's an endless source of joy to me.
What do you feel like have been your greatest lessons?
The me to we thing is a massive lesson. to pivot from everything I do is really about supporting me. Yes, it's supporting you. Of course it is. I wouldn't be doing this job if it wasn't, because I get such joy out of it. So it is supporting me. But it's about helping others. I've lived a long time. You called me a wise woman. That's an interesting thing. And I have developed some wisdom if I relate that back to who I was and how I used to be in life. The most important thing that we are here is to know ourselves, to really, really know ourselves, because in knowing ourselves, we know everyone else. Helping people know themselves is a big drive for me, which is why I like doing shows that are talking about topics that maybe haven't made the mainstream yet, or, somebody who's working on something that is so cool and it can be really helpful to everybody else. And I'm a shameless sharer. If I know something, I want to share it with everybody else so that they can know it too.
Are there certain cycles that you find keep repeating that are specifically pointing you in a certain direction of your own growth?
There are certainly cycles in terms of something drops in. I don't get many of these big aha moments like I had with the me thing. But when I do get them, and there've been 3 or 4 of them, it starts me on a whole new cycle of my life, because there is something that I look at and go, oh dear, that's mine to do. So in terms of that, yes, there are certain cycles. I'm constantly on a quest to know more about me, to know more about the universe, to know more about humanity, psychology. The unknown just completely draws me.
You also have a gift for storytelling and for guiding individuals in being able to tell their own story. A challenge for many. They want to speak their voice or express something that they feel is theirs to express. Speak about how that process affects another individual as they're going through it. The importance of being able to tell our story.
From the very beginning, we've told stories. If we don't speak, we act out the stories. This sharing of information, if you like, is such I think, a natural thing in our lives. It's part of who we are and how we move through the world. And we learn so much through stories. As a child, I used to sit under tables or sit in trees. I always used to like to distance myself and hide and read fairy tales from different countries. Fairy tales from Romania and Bulgaria and all of these exotic sounding countries to a young child. Everything was laid out for us. I loved them. I was addicted to them. And I've always loved stories. I think it was a very natural thing for me to be a storyteller and to help other people tell their stories, because I'm so interested in hearing their stories. If we could hear everybody's story, I think we would have so much knowledge and so much insight into who we are and why we're here. Because you look at the beginning of a story and the hardships that people have, and we all have hardships to one degree or another. We all go through the same experiences. We just go through them differently or respond to them differently. And where we end up at the end of it, either feeling that we were a failure and we didn't do whatever it was we thought we should be doing or wanted to do, or whether we do everything that we wanted to do. These stories are so valuable. We learn so much. I get people saying to me, I really want to write a book, but my story isn't that interesting, or there's lots of people who've had a similar story to me. Why would mine be any different? And I think every story is important, every single story. We can't have all the experiences. We can only have our own, but we get to experience other people's experiences through their stories. Through that, we learn. We get to weigh up things, oh, I never thought of that, or what would I do in that particular situation? We get to put ourselves into their story and learn more about ourselves. And we also get to judge our own stories or look at our stories alongside somebody else's stories. I tell everybody, if you've got a story in you, write it down. Even if you don't do anything with it, it is such an important thing to be able to articulate it in one way or another. If you can't speak it, write it, because that is going to be the most amazing journey for you. You really get to look at your own story and you learn so much about it that you can't from the inside when it's just still going round and round in your head. I have been asked many times to create a writing course. I finally decided that I was going to offer a course, a pre-writing course, if you like, in helping people move through some of those blockages that are stopping them from being able to articulate their story. I have been absolutely gobsmacked by what I've learned.
If you have always wanted to write a book, but don't know how to start, can't find your voice, keep getting writer's block, or finding yourself resisting, perhaps you think your story has no worth, Sandie Sedgbeer's new course is a pre-writing course. It helps aspiring writers go deep inside through guided meditations and specific introspective writing prompts that help you meet your inner critic, work with and learn how to embrace your shadow, release stuck patterns, beliefs, and anything that might hold you back. Awaken Your Inner Storyteller is about writing and speaking from your heart and soul. You can find a link to that in the bio description below. You can find out more about Sandie Sedgbeer, the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club, and all of the amazing things that she is doing by going to her website, sedgbeer.com. That link is in the bio description. Receive the 1111 Collective on Substack. Click the link in the bio description below and join us. Become an annual subscriber or a Master Founder member and start to also receive 1111 Magazine on audio. It is an honor and a privilege to have you there. We'll be right back after these messages.
Simran is an award-winning author, publisher of 1111 Magazine, powerful speaker of wisdom, and a life mentor. Find out more at IamSimran.com. Now, back to 1111 Talk Radio.
If you have always wanted to write a book, but don't know how to start, can't find your voice, keep getting writer's block, or finding yourself resisting, perhaps you think your story has no worth, Sandie Sedgbeer's new course is a pre-writing course. It helps aspiring writers go deep inside through guided meditations and specific introspective writing prompts that help you meet your inner critic, work with and learn how to embrace your shadow, release stuck patterns, beliefs, and anything that might hold you back. Awaken Your Inner Storyteller is about writing and speaking from your heart and soul. You can find a link to that in the bio description below. I want to mention my new trilogy. I hope that you will pick it up. It is titled Living the 7 Blessings of Human Experience, which goes into your personality, identity, and the part of you that you think is conscious but is actually walking unconscious in the world. The second book is Being, the 7 Illusions that Derail Personal Power, Purpose, and Peace. This goes into the illusions that we have gotten caught up in, like time, money, hierarchy, war, even identity, and you are allowed to go into places that rise you to a higher octave of being once you discover these low vibrational unconscious selves. And the third book is Knowing, the 7 Human Expressions of Grace, ways that you can rise into giving yourself the graces that are required to open up to higher and higher grace. I invite you to pick that up and open it as oracles while you read any other books, and it definitely will support you in tapping into places that you may have deeply repressed or hidden away from yourself. So check that out. Sandie combines her love of interviewing and broadcasting with her pioneering work as a publishing media resonance marketing specialist, advising authors, teachers, speakers, corporations, and individuals on how to apply the science of resonance to their business, personal, and marketing communications.
I have been asked many times to create a writing course. I finally decided that I was going to offer a course, a pre-writing course, if you like, in helping people move through some of those blockages that are stopping them from being able to articulate their story. I have been absolutely gobsmacked by what I've learned through this course, encouraging them, and giving them different writing prompts has done for them in releasing all of the blockages that were in the way of them telling their stories. Everybody should tell their story. I'm especially passionate about the older generation writing down something about their lives to leave for their grandchildren. Because once they're gone, our grandchildren, our children even, they don't know us. They don't know all of the things. They know the details, but they don't know the journey. It's really important that we know one another, to understand one another. What happened to them during that war? How did they survive this particular experience? Every single person should write that down and leave it for their grandchildren to read.
It is titled The Awakening Your Inner Storyteller. You can find that at sedgbeer.com, and it is in the bio description below. I believe that Sandie has another one coming up soon. Sandie, as the author of 6 nonfiction books, as an editor, a coach, a ghostwriter, you even served as a judge in various book publisher associations and competitions and awards regarding books. I would imagine that there is a personal growth process that takes place for an individual that is undergoing writing their story or writing a book.
I can tell you about the experiences of some of the people on the course, what they tell me. And what some of my clients have told me is that when they start writing, it's almost as though they switch on something else within inside them and they switch off something else inside them. How many writers say, oh my God, I got so caught up in that. I didn't know how much time had passed. I've written however many words, and when I almost come out of this trance, I was on such a flow, and I look at what I've written, I ask myself, who wrote that? We're opening up to a part of ourselves that we often don't get to access when we start writing. Some of the people on this course are finding voices within them, facets of themselves, aspects of their character, their shadow side, the sides that they often don't want to look at because they feel it's not acceptable. But in a story, or when they're writing something, they have the freedom to tap into that and to express it. It kind of enlarges them. They begin to see that there are so many facets to their personality, and they're all acceptable. And people also find opinions that they had, they get to question them. Once they see it down on paper, they often feel, is that true? Do I really feel that? Why do I feel that? Is that my belief or is that someone else's belief? You have to go in order to be able to write. You have to be in that space. And what comes out of it, especially new writers, is so unexpected that it cannot help but be a growth experience for them. In my No B.S. Spiritual Book Club interviews, when I'm asking people to give us the 10 books that inspired them the most on their journey, people will often say, can I add my own book to that? And I say, of course you can, because writing that book had a major impact on you, on your life journey. People talk about we have to go in, we have to know ourselves. And that is not an easy thing to do. And if you're not a meditator, the next best thing is writing, because in writing, you can open up those channels and you can surprise yourself and you can discover more of who you are.
I have found that the creative process is a wonderful process for transmutation. And I do think it is really powerful in one's own personal growth and facing all of those areas that you're talking about. They start to become unearthed. And I'm glad that you mentioned the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club. It is a beautiful and powerful expression that not only shares people, but shares the wisdom of many books that have impacted them.
This was one of those rare downloads that I get. Mind, body, spirit industry is now worth something like 3 trillion. I mean, it's massive. And there's lots of people who are waking up and discovering new things and wanting to share them and writing books. A lot of them, very genuine, but also sometimes not always substantive. When you've been in this business a long time, you're kind of reading the same books over and over again, or getting pitch the same kinds of books. And I was just having a little peeve one day at the number of books I'd been pitched that day, and not one of them was something that was really exciting and new. And I just ranted. I had a little rant to the universe. Oh, come on, we can do better than this. What about all those wonderful books that are out there that are being eclipsed by all these new ones coming in? Literally, I had another one of those downloads. It was as if somebody unfurled a banner or a TV screen in front of me and I saw the whole picture. And it was the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club. It didn't have that name at the time. But I looked at it and I thought, wow, what a fantastic idea to create a book club where people who have walked this path before us tell us about the books that influence them. What a great resource that would be. And as I looked at it, I thought, and what a lot of hard work it's going to be. So I'm not doing that. And I turned away from the idea. But over the next year, it was always at the corner of my vision. And I found myself, playing with a website and playing with ideas. And after a year, I thought, yeah, this is mine to do. So I started it very naively, thinking that I would ask people I knew, people I'd interviewed, some well-known, some not so well-known, to give me the 10 books. And that was great. And I would do an interview with them. And I would also create a dedicated page on the website with their descriptions of how these books had moved them. But I didn't think ahead. I just thought, this is fun. I'm having, a lot of fun doing these interviews, because for the first time in my life, I'm talking to people who aren't necessarily pitching a book, being completely authentic, talking about their lives and their experiences and their aha moments through the lens of the books that influence them the most. And so they're very unplugged and they're very relaxed, and they don't have to stick to a spiel that their publisher wants them to really promote the latest book. That authenticity shines through. And they're such relaxed interviews. The guest enjoys them. I really enjoy them. I don't have to do a lot of work, which is even better, because, the books are listed all in front of me and I just have to get them talking about them. But then, a year passed and 2 years passed and 3 years passed. And then I began to think about my website. And then I had another download. And this was, and now you need to take it out into the communities. Now you need to help people start their own No B.S. Spiritual Book Club in their village, in their town, in their community. And I looked at that one and I thought, that's another big picture. I'm just one person. How on earth do you do that? And so I sat on that one for a long time because I thought it was too big for me. And then I decided to start one in my own hometown, my village, and just see what happened. Invite some women that I knew, women who were always asking me questions about, what book should I read next? And so I put a group together, which I'm running now, and I realised that here are so many people waking up who don't know where to go for their information, who can go to the bookstores. And of course, the most popular ones are going to be there, always, but not necessarily some of the best ones. And they're looking for a tribe. Some of them, they can't talk to their family about their newly awakened consciousness because their family may not be at the same place. They don't want to get ridiculed talking to their friends. Where do they go to find their tribe and to begin, their journey? A book club is the best thing possible for them. So in creating my own, I started looking at the 2,500, 3,000 books that had been recommended through the interviews and the archives in the online No B.S. book club. And I started looking at the books that were the most popular, the ones that had the most impact on people. And I started drawing up lists of, the ones that I would give to my beginners. It's just grown from there. And now I've got various organisations that have sizable audiences, asking me about this and saying, that might be something that we could get involved in and put that out for our members and be an affiliate or something under the umbrella of the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club. It's an entity, an energy, a beautiful child that is growing up and wanting to share itself with the world. And I'm only learning things about what this child wants, what its purpose is, as I'm moving through it. Every guest tells me that they got a lot out of the process, that for them to review their life through the lenses of their books took them back in time. And it was like having a life review without having to leave the planet. So it feels like the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club is a real simple win-win project that can be very useful to many people.
It certainly does. And as you were describing everything, I went back to one of the words that I described you as in the beginning, and that was example. Because so often individuals think that when they get a download or they get an idea that they have to go run and not only implement it immediately, but that they have to have the whole map of the next 50 years planned out for what goal they have to reach. You've expressed a real organic, present way of being with something that allows it to unfold like we would a child, which is really, really beautiful.
Thank you for saying that. And, that's something I've learned through the book club. I mean, I've started things before when I've had downloads. By nature, I'm a shameless sharer. If I get excited about something, I want everyone else to feel the same excitement. And when I've had things present themselves and they're very unusual or way ahead of their time, I don't wait. I just do them. And I've learned a lot of lessons along the way because you can't always sustain it until everybody's caught up. And so there have been a few things that I've done that, I've sadly had to let go of at some point or another because I haven't been able to afford to continue to support them. I didn't even have any vision for it in the beginning. It was just, this is going to be fun. And it's a great way of helping people find good resources, good recommendations. You don't always have to have all the answers. Just put it out there and see what develops.
Our end purpose has so much to do with the things that are so natural to us that we don't even consider them a big deal. But for someone else to do those things, they may consider those a great task. And it's very obvious that you have this ability to connect, to converse, to be curious and insightful at the same time, that it's just so natural a part of your essence that it comes through everything you do. The piece that you added here was the piece about fun. And if you look back over your career, how did fun play a role in your most successful or most fulfilling endeavors that you've created?
That's another great question. Fun is learning, trying something new and experiencing it. I love new experiences. And so I've never wanted to sit and just be content with one thing. As a journalist, a lot of my colleagues used to say I was crazy because I didn't just want, to write for the magazine. I wanted to know about the circulation and the promotions department and, all of the things that went into making a magazine. And people said, you can't be a Jill of all trades. Stick to one thing. The excitement comes from learning something new and understanding how things work. So it's always been just a natural process. And the fun comes from the excitement that I get. So it's never been something that I've set out to do. This delights me. I don't consider it work and I want more of it. And it really lifts my soul. If it's exciting and it's fun, do it.
What do you see as the trends or the directions that we're being pointed to as a society right now to really explore?
Oh, that's a hard one. That's a very hard one. I think that everything that's happening in our world today is a massive, massive message, the biggest direction sign that we could have ever had if we look at it, if we disengage from what's going on and look at it from a higher perspective. I think that we are in the most exciting period that I could possibly imagine. To be here today is greater than any other period in history that I would have liked to have participated in, because I think we are on the verge of having the opportunity to really know who we are and what we are. I think that the lessons, if you look at our history, it's all been about me, me, me. And there's still a great deal of me, me, me in our world. But I think that we are having the opportunity now in ways that we've never had it before. And the level of consciousness we can access to understand that it's not about me. It's true that we are one. It is we. Who said it? Either we all make it out of here or none of us do.
How do you navigate some of the very human moments alongside being exposed to so much that is this higher consciousness point of view? Because we do go through many of the heartbreaking moments. We do see people pass away. We see people struggle or in pain. And I know that you've experienced many things very close to you. How do you balance the two to make sure that you are serving the human, the me, that must experience in those ways and glean from it, as well as stay the course for the we?
At this stage in my life, I've learned that everything is a lesson. There's a lesson in everything. I sometimes read the news feed and my heart bleeds when I see children as casualties of war through other people's ideologies, and not just the ones that get killed, but the ones that are traumatized, and in 20 years' time, how are they going to move through the world because they've had so much trauma? That breaks my heart, but I also have to always pull myself back to that we are divine beings. At the end of the day, it's the body that dies. It's not us. And everything that happens, we incrementally learn more, we evolve more, and we are working towards something that is a lot more magnificent than what we see today. That bigger picture is always what keeps me going. Always.
You have a powerful show called What is Going On. You also create the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club and release those beautiful interviews. And now you have a new show called the Synergy Sessions, which is quite intriguing. I'd love for you to share more so that people can find out.
Again, another idea that came up from the way I naturally am. I'm always connecting people. I seem to have this gift for knowing when someone talks about something, say, oh, you should meet so-and-so. People tell me all the time, that I've connected them to people that are fascinating to talk to. And it suddenly dawned on me, well, yeah, wouldn't it be great to do a show where you're bringing two people together that who have, some information about a particular hot topic, but they've come at it from different ways. Put them together and wind them up and let them go, and have this amazing dialogue that you can listen to. This is fun. The kind of conversations that we can all eavesdrop on and learn from. I'm very excited just to put two people together and listen to the conversation.
And you certainly are one who connects people to people, whether it is what is it that the me truly desires, and what is it that the we part of you truly desires?
The me part of me desires that more of us understand the we. I think that's it, for me. It's in whatever way I can facilitate that, sharing people's breakthroughs, scientific, whatever it is that somebody's doing that can help us, bring us together and bring us to that understanding. That is what excites me, and that is what I would like. I mean, I never see myself as retiring. I just want to continue doing what I'm doing, sharing what I'm sharing so that more people can begin to understand who they are and what they have access to, and that we all have access to the greater we.
This is the beautiful, wise woman, the sage storyteller guide that I have been so delighted to share, who has impacted my own life in tremendous ways and who I know will impact yours. Sandie Sedgbeer is a professional journalist, author, and talk TV radio show host who cut her teeth in the ultra-competitive world of British newspapers and magazines. She has interviewed everyone from movie stars and recording artists to celebrity speakers and teachers to leading scientists, politicians, authors, filmmakers, and New Thought leaders. As a magazine editor, author, and publisher, Sandie Sedgbeer brought new thoughts and ideas to the fore as the publisher and editor-in-chief of 3 leading-edge New Thought magazines. She is the author of 6 successful nonfiction books and editor, coach, and ghostwriter of numerous other ones. Sandie combines her love of interviewing and broadcasting with her pioneering work as a publishing media resonance marketing specialist, advising authors, teachers, speakers, corporations, and individuals on how to apply the science of resonance to their business, personal, and marketing communications. In early 2020, Sandie founded the No B.S. Spiritual Book Club, in which she invites recognized names in the New Thought spiritual arenas to share their 10 best list of spiritual books that influenced them in their life journeys. In addition to an ever-growing online library of 10 best spiritual books recommendations, Sandie also conducts weekly live interviews with contributors in which they share the intimate stories behind their choices. Find out more at sedgbeer.com. If you have always wanted to write a book but don't know how to start, can't find your voice, keep getting writer's block, or finding yourself resisting, perhaps you think your story has no worth, Sandie Sedgbeer's new course is a pre-writing course. It helps aspiring writers go deep inside through guided meditations and specific introspective writing prompts that help you meet your inner critic, work with and learn how to embrace your shadow, release stuck patterns, beliefs, and anything that might hold you back. Awaken Your Inner Storyteller is about writing and speaking from your heart and soul. You can find a link to that in the bio description below. Do join my Substack. My publication is Beyond the Illusion, and you can find it at iamsimran1111.substack.com. That link is in the bio description. You'll actually receive all of the 1111 magazine issues on audio as part of that, in addition to the weekly prompt, inquiry, contemplation, and meditation that I provide to all of the subscribers on the annual membership. Thank you so much for spending time. Until next week, in love, of love, with love and as love, be well.
Thank you for opening your mind to a new reality, your heart to greater compassion, and your experience of aliveness with 1111 Talk Radio. Join host Simran next Tuesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern Time to step through the gateway of conscious living. You are not on the journey. You are the journey.